Allen, Anderson, Bates, Bell, Berryhill, Block, Canella, De Leon, Fuller, Gaines, Galgioni, Glazer, Hall, Hancock, Hernandez, Hertzberg, Hill, Weso, Huff, Jackson, Lada, Leno, Leva, Liu, McGuire, Mendoza, Mitchell, Monning, Morlock, Morrell, Wynn, Nilsson, Pan, Pavley, Roth, Runner, Stone, Vidak, Wykowski, Wolk.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. We are absent a quorum. Members, sergeants, please notify the absent members to report to the floor immediately. Here, if you can find your way to the Senate floor, it would be much appreciated. Members, a quorum is present. Would the members and our guests be on the rail and in the gallery please rise? We will be led in prayer this morning by our guest chaplain, Sister Bridget McCarthy, Vice President, Mission Integration for Dignity Health, Sacramento Service Area, after which please remain standing and we will be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Senator Leno.
Thank you, Senator, and good morning, everyone. Let us be aware that God is truly present in this place. O God, we thank thee for this universe, our great home, for its vastness and its riches, and for the manifold life which teems upon it and of which we are a part. We praise thee for the arching sky and the blessed winds, for the driving clouds and the constellations on high. We praise thee for the salt sea and the running water, for the everlasting hills, and for the trees, and for the grass beneath our feet. We praise thee for our senses by which we can see the splendor of the morning and hear the songs of the birds and enjoy the smells of springtime. Grant us, we pray, a heart wide open to all this joy and beauty, and save our souls from being steeped in care or so darkened by passion that we pass heedless and unseeing when even the thorn bush by the wayside is aflamed with the glory of God. Amen.
Good morning, members. Under privileges of the floor, do we have any privileges of the floor? Very good. We will move on to messages from the governor. The messages will be deemed read. Messages from the assembly will also be deemed read. Reports of committee will be deemed read and amendments adopted. Under motions, resolutions, and notices, any motions or resolutions? Very good. Thank you, members. We will continue to move on. Introductions and first reading of bills. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 916 by Senator Allen, an act relating to teacher credentialing.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. All right, members, we're going to move on to the consideration of the daily file. We will first move to unfinished business. Item 44. Senator Runner, are you prepared? Senator Runner? Are you prepared to present item 44? Pass on file. Thank you. You are welcome. Senator Mendoza, are you prepared to present item 45? Thank you. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 91 by Senator Mendoza relative to India Republic Day.
Please proceed, Mr. Mendoza. Senator Mendoza.
Thank you, Madam President. Senators, this is back for concurrence. SCR 91 added some amendments in the Senate, which basically added some co-authors. We did our ceremony on Monday, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator. Is there any discussion or debate? Discussion or debate, members? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Aye. Bell. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Cannella. De Leon. Fuller. Gaines.
Thank you.
Galgiani. Gaines, aye. Galgiani, aye. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Hancock. Hernandez. Hertzberg. Hill. Aye. Hueso. Aye. Huff. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Leno. Aye. Leba.
Aye.
Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. Aye. Wynn. Aye. Nilsson. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Roth. Aye. Runner. Aye. Stone. Aye. Vidak. Aye. Wykowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye. Hall, aye.
Mr. Secretary, please call the absent members.
Bell. Berryhill. Cannella. De Leon. Fuller. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Hertzberg. Huff. Lada. Huff. Aye. Mitchell. Nilsson. Pavley.
Exactly right. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Ayes 30, noes 0. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. Members, we are going to move to Senate third reading, starting with file item 46. Senator Bates, are you prepared to present? Senator Bates, would you like to present item 46? Pass on file. Thank you. Item 47, Senator Galgiani. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 6 by Senator Galgiani, enacting to parole.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. SB 6 eliminates provisions related to compassionate release for anyone convicted of the murder of a police officer. The original compassionate release legislation, SB 1399, was intended to prohibit compassionate release for anyone convicted of murder of an officer. However, there was a period of time in the 1970s where there was no penalty of the death penalty, and there was also no penalty of life without the possibility of parole, which was how the original legislation was crafted to exempt anyone convicted of those sentences. So at that time, anyone in the 1970s who was convicted of killing a police officer was given a sentence of life with parole. SB 6 is intended to correct this, and it's important that we guarantee that these individuals convicted of these heinous crimes serve their entire sentences given to them by a jury of their peers, because our men and women in law enforcement perform on a daily basis the task of keeping the rest of us safe, and an act of aggression against a law enforcement officer is an act of aggression against the very system intended to keep us all safe. This is sponsored by the California Narcotics Officers Association and sponsored by a long list of law enforcement. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senators. Members, it's a little noisy on the floor. If we could quiet down. Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none. Senator, would you like to close? Oh, Senator Nielsen, I apologize. Please proceed.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I appreciate that Senator Galgiani has paid this respects to our law enforcement professionals. Of late, all that's happened with our law enforcement professionals is they're being unjustly scorned. Far too often, they are harmed and put themselves in harm's way for our benefit. This bill acknowledges the risk that they take by acknowledging that those who put them at risk aren't tender, loving souls, aren't saintly, and for the most part are not rehabilitated. Those who perpetrate criminal acts and violent acts toward law enforcement professionals, much greater chance that they are indeed evil at heart. They know that they are taking on someone who is in authority, someone they should not be attacking or putting at risk. So it is entirely just that they pay a little higher price, and that would include a little bit more difficult time when considered for medical parole. And that's also more so important now when medical parole is so much more easy to attain. And I speak with authority. For many, many years, it is my job to determine when individuals were, in fact, ready and worthy for medical parole. And I've kind of watched with dismay how medical parole has become almost automatic in our rush to free up prison beds. I'm exaggerating, I confess, but if you have a cold, you're going to get medical parole. Used to almost mean terminal illness death within 60 days. Doesn't mean that anymore. It's almost automatic. I urge an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Vidak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Violent criminals who intentionally plot and carry out cold-blooded murder of a police officer, any peace officer, do not deserve any compassion. Releasing them, no matter what their medical condition may be, would be an insult to the families of the police officers who were murdered. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Leno.
Thank you, Madam President. As author of the medical parole statute, I just wanted to acknowledge that Senator Galgiani's recounting of the original intent and language of the bill is 100% accurate, though I do need to say that there is hardly a rush of individuals being released through medical parole. We had to write the language so very tightly to get Governor Schwarzenegger's signature. If anything, it is falling far short of our expectations of implementation, but nonetheless, Senator Galgiani's recounting is accurate, and I do ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Galgiani, would you like to close?
I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Aye. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Canella. Aye. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Galgiani. Aye. Glazer. Hall. Aye. Hancock. No. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Hueso. Aye. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Aye. Lutta. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leyva.
Aye.
Aye. Liu. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. Aye. Wynn. Aye. Nielsen. Pan. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Aye. Stone. Aye. Vidak. Aye. Wachowski. Wolk. Wolk aye. Wachowski aye. Glazer aye. Nielsen aye.
Mr. Secretary, please call the absent members.
Allen. Berryhill. Liu. Mitchell. Pan. Pan aye.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Ayes 35, noes 1. The measure passes. Members, we're moving on to file item 48. Senator Wolk. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 554 by Senator Wolk and acrolein to water.
Members, we're a little noisy. Senator Wolk, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. 554 will eliminate the sunset, which currently exists and has since 1996 on the Delta Levy Subvention Program. It has to do with the amount of cost share. The cost share has been, since 1996, 75-25. The original program was 50-50. When it was 50-50, there weren't as many projects as over the last, since 1996, it's been 75-25. We've had extensions of the sunset at least 3 times, and frankly, to see if the program was effective, and it was, in terms of getting more projects out and the local communities involved. The Public Policy Institute said that the Delta Levy Subvention Program, I quote, in particular, has significantly reduced the levy failures and is the most important state investment in Delta levies. That's still true, and I ask for your aye vote. This has had bipartisan support all the way along.
Thank you, Senator. Members, is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Aye. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Canella. Aye. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Galgiani. Aye. Glazer. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Hueso. Aye. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Aye. Lutta. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leyva.
Aye.
Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. I Wynn. I Nielsen. I Pan. Pavley. I Roth. I Runner. I Stone. I Vidak. I Wykowski. I Wolk. Wolk I. Glazer I. Pan I.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Ayes 39, noes 0. Moving on to file item 49. Senator Bates, are you prepared to present? Pass on file. Thank you. File item 50, Senator Wykowski. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 680 by Senator Wykowski, enacting to taxation to take effect immediately. Tax levy.
Oh, measure passes. Thank you. Yes. Senator Wykowski, please proceed.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. SB 680 is a jobs bill that will ensure single taxation of new vehicles manufactured and sold in California to out-of-state purchasers and will fuel, I believe, an industrial tourism economy that we have. Now, SB 680 would contribute to our tourism economy by providing incentives for out-of-state purchasers to travel to communities where manufacturers engage in direct sales of passenger automobiles, generating tourism, hotel stays in California, restaurant meals, and other complementary purchases. Under current state law, an out-of-state purchaser has the incentive to take delivery of their Tesla in another state where the tax rate is lower, thereby avoiding a potential lucrative trip to California to engage in tourism. Out-of-state purchasers are not eligible for any of the California incentive programs that we have for our electric car program because those are intended to benefit only Californians. We've modified this bill so it's a 3-year sunset to test to see if this program is going to work. Now, SB 680 is supported by the California travel industry, and I urge an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator. Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. I Anderson. I Bates. I Bell. I Berryhill. Block. I Canella. I DeLeon. I Fuller. Gaines. I Galgiani. I Glazer. I Hall. I Hancock. I Hernandez. I Hertzberg. I Hill. I Hueso. I Huff. I Jackson. Lada. I Leno. I Leva.
No.
No. Liu. I McGuire. I Mendoza. I Mitchell. Monty. Morlock. I Morrell. Wynn. Nielsen. I Pan. Pavley. I Roth. I Runner. I Stone. I Vidak. I Wykowski. I Wolk. Wolk I.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, please call the absent members.
Berryhill. Fuller. I. Jackson.
This is the next one.
I. Mitchell. Monning. Morrell. No. Wynn. Pan.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Ayes 33, noes 2, measure passes. Senator Anderson, are you ready to present item 51? Please proceed, Mr. Secretary. Please call the roll. Please read Mr. Secretary, please read. There we go.
Senate Bill 514 by Senator Anderson, enacting the health care coverage and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Senator, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. Senators, SB 514 simply works to close a security loophole that the California Health Benefits Exchange has been working hard to close. I urge an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, members, is there objection to using the unanimous roll call? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. I Anderson. I Bates. I Bell. I Berryhill. Block. I Canella. I DeLeon. I Fuller. I. Gaines. I. Galgiani. I. Glazer. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Hueso. I. Huff. I. Jackson. I. Lada. I. Leno. I. Leba. I. Liu. I. McGuire. I. Mendoza. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morlock. I. Morrell. I. Wynn. Nilsson. I. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. I. Stone. I. Vidak. I. Wachowski. I. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Mr. Secretary, please call the absent members.
Glazer, aye. Berryhill. Mendoza. I. Wynn. Aye.
Ayes 39, noes 0 on the urgency clause. Ayes 39, noes 0. Measure passes. Moving on to file item 52, Senator Liu. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 547 by Senator Liu, enacting to aging.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, 20% of California's population will be 65 years or older by 2030. SB 547 is an effort to respond to this silver tsunami before it reaches crisis proportions. My bill derives from the Senate Select Committee on Aging and Long-Term Care's final report, A Shattered System, Reforming Long-Term Care in California. Its purpose is to better organize and coordinate administration and delivery of aging and long-term care services and support statewide. SB 547 does three things. It charges the Secretary of Health and Human Services with the responsibility of coordinating aging and long-term care policies and programs within the agency and across all state agencies and departments. It creates an Aging and Long-Term Care Services Coordinating Council chaired by the Secretary. And it requires the Council to develop a statewide long-term care plan with recommendations and a cost-benefit analysis for each to serve as a blueprint for meeting the needs of the aging population while maximizing the use of limited resources. Many of you have already seen the periodic table that I presented in policy and fiscal committees. It illustrates that we have 112 aging and long-term care programs administered by 20 different agencies, offices, and departments. It's time for the state to get its act together, for programs to stop operating in silos, and for the administrators to communicate and coordinate their activities in a way that meets consumer needs, and I ask for your support on the bill.
Thank you, Senator. Members, is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. No. Bates. I. Bell. I. Berryhill. Block. I. Canella. I. De Leon. I. Fuller. Gaines. I. Galgiani. I. Glazer. I. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Hueso. I. Huff. I. Jackson. I. Lada. I. Leno. I. Leba.
Aye.
I. Liu. I. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morlock. No. Morrell. No. Wynn. I. Nilsson. No. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. I. Stone. I. Vidak. I. Wachowski. I. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Fuller, aye.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Ayes 35, noes 4. Measure passes. Members, we're going to move on to file item 53, Senator Mendoza. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 648 by Senator Mendoza, enacting to health and care facilities.
Please proceed, Senator.
Thank you, Madam President. Senators, I'm here to present SB 648, a senior protection bill that closes a significant gap in licensing requirements for referral agencies and ensure that seniors and their families are making the most informed decisions about their placement in long-term care facilities. To address opposition concerns, amendments were adopted in the Fiscal Committee to allow referral agencies to utilize oral disclosures. By doing so, we were able to remove the opposition of a place for mom. Placement referral agencies provide a great service to our aging population as they provide seniors and their families with resources and assistance in finding a suitable long-term care or aging facility. For seniors, especially those following a hospital stay or sudden decline in independence, finding assisted living or care options can be daunting. Some seniors may even feel rushed to find a care facility, leaving them susceptible to pressure and misinformation. Because current licensing requirements do not include agencies that refer seniors to residential care facility for the elderly, a vast majority of these agencies are operating in California without any oversight. In the greater Sacramento area alone, they have over 100 placement referral agencies providing these type of services. This lack of oversight has allowed for ample opportunity for some unscrupulous referral agencies to misguide seniors and families that are using their services. This bill ensures that no matter what service seniors or their families use, they are receiving the information they need to make an informed decision. Members, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator. Members, is there any discussion or debate? Yes, Senator Morlock.
Thank you, Madam President. I've been voting the last 2 days in opposition to creating new commissions, committees, and programs. We have a budget that's tight. We're asked to vote for more taxes, and I'm kind of trying to figure out why are we constantly expanding what we're doing, because once you set up a commission or a new program, you have all the staffing costs, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm wondering, why are we not merging, consolidating, expanding existing commissions to try and address some of these issues? So, colleagues, I will be opposing this bill, and I just think we need to step back and say we can't manage this state by bills and commissions. We've got to get maybe a CEO in here to start fixing some of these issues that are really frustrating us. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Nielsen?
Yes. Senator Mendoza, it seems like that this would invite a lot of litigation. Comes to mind the ADA lawsuits, because any action would be subject to be an unfair competition by one of the referral individuals that we're having in question here. And I haven't seen no citation of egregious abuse in this industry that would justify such a drastic action. And it would appear if it's kind of open season, inviting litigation. Aren't we overreacting just a little bit to a situation that isn't really in crisis? It's a question, Senator.
Senator Mendoza, are you open to a question? Very good. He will address your question in his close.
All right.
Thank you, Senator Nielsen. Senator Mendoza, would you like to close?
Sure would.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate the concerns from my colleagues across the aisle. There have been numerous cases where our seniors and their families have been taken advantage of, and these referral agencies go unchecked and unnoticed. The concerns that you're bringing up of potential litigation, that exists in anything that we do. We have the departments that already handle similar agencies and similar cases. This just adds another layer of protection for our seniors and their families to make sure they're not being taken advantage of. I think your concerns are valid. I do think that they're not out of line to what we commonly do in our chamber as we try to protect the very residents that are most vulnerable in our state, and that's our seniors. And I think this bill is very necessary. That's why the opposition is pretty much non-existent now with the amendments that we've taken. So I think there's ample support for it. There's a need for it. And I feel that this bill is necessary to address that. So thank you for sharing their concerns with me. Members, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Mendoza. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen? Aye. Anderson? No Bates. No Bell. I Berryhill. Block. I Canella. I De Leon. I Fuller. No Gaines. No Galgiani. I Glazer. I Hall. Hancock. I Hernandez. I Hertzberg. I Hill. I Hueso. I Huff. Jackson. I Lara. I Leno. I Leba.
Aye.
I Liu. McGuire. I Mendoza. I Mitchell. I Monning. I Morlock. No Morell. No Wynn. No Nielsen. No Pan. I Pavley. I Roth. I Runner. Stone. No Vidak. No Wykowski. I Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Mr. Secretary, please call the absent members.
Berryhill. Hall. I. Huff. Liu. I. Runner. No. Huff, no.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Ayes 27, noes 12. The measure passes.